Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down how you can communicate like a real leader. And here's a spoiler. The secret isn't about what you add to your presentation. It's about what you take away.
You know, every single time you open your mouth, whether it's in a big meeting or just a casual chat, people are subconsciously asking themselves this one simple question. And their answer, well, it determines everything. It decides if they see you as someone to follow or just someone to tune out.
And the message from our source material is just crystal clear on this. If you can't communicate with conviction and clarity, you will never, ever be trusted like a leader. It's really the absolute bedrock of influence.
And this brings us to the central paradox we're going to unpack today. See, most of us think that gaining that executive presence is all about adding more stuff. More fancy words, more data, more gestures. But what true leaders do is the exact opposite. They gain their authority through subtraction.
So, we'll explore this in 4 parts. First, we'll dig into that core paradox. Then we'll identify the habits that absolutely kill your credibility. After that, we'll look at the bigger tests of leadership. And finally, we'll build a playbook to turn all that weakness into strength.
Okay, so let's dive right into this idea of what executive presence really is. I'm telling you, it's probably not what you think.
See, it's not about being the loudest person in the room or the most charming. It's actually about being predictable, but in the best way possible. People trust you because they know what they're going to get: clarity, composure, and conviction. And that trust, it's earned by removing all those little weak signals that make you seem uncertain.
And this just brilliantly illustrates the value we're talking about here. Mastering these skills isn't just some soft skill. It has a hard, tangible impact on your value and, let's be honest, your entire career.
All right, next up, we're going to get into the 3 most common behaviors that are quietly, and probably without you even knowing it, killing your authority in every single conversation.
Over-explaining, fidgeting, and asking for permission. Now, these 3 habits, they seem so small, right? But they happen all the time, and each one is like a little crack chipping away at your audience's confidence in you.
I mean, think about it. The most intelligent, most confident people in the room, they often say the least. They don't ramble or talk in circles. Why? Because when your communication is tight, your thinking seems sharp. Over-explaining really comes from a place of nervousness, a need to be validated. True authority is felt when you speak as if you expect to be heard, not just hope to be.
Oh man, fidgeting. This is a big one. You could be saying the most brilliant thing in the world, but if your body is just screaming, "I'm nervous," that's the only message people are going to hear. When your words and your body don't match, people will always trust your body.
There's this powerful example of a director of operations who was fantastic at her job, but she was constantly biting her nails on calls. That one small nervous habit, it signaled uncertainty to her whole team, and it completely undermined her authority. Your fidgets literally steal the audience's attention away from your message and put a giant spotlight on your anxiety. Leadership isn't some title that's just handed to you. It's a role you have to claim with your actions. There's this great story about a college project where everyone was totally lost. So instead of waiting, one student just went home, she made a plan, and she came back the next day and said, "Okay, here's what we're going to do." See, she didn't ask to be the leader, she just became one. Leaders create certainty, and that starts with taking ownership, not asking for permission.
So we've talked about those daily communication habits. But beyond those, there are 2 bigger, kind of hidden tests that truly define you as a leader over the long haul.
How you handle the tough conversations and how consistently you show up emotionally, these 2 challenges are what determine if people will actually follow you when the pressure is really on.
Look, your team might not say it to your face, but trust me, they are keeping a mental scorecard. Every single time you dodge the truth, or avoid a challenging situation, or you try to soften a hard message, you lose a point of respect. It really is that simple.
And this is the whole point. Great leaders don't run away from discomfort, they walk right towards it. Executive presence means being the one person in the room who's willing to say what needs to be said, but with composure and with honesty.
Okay, this one is so important. If your mood dictates your leadership style for the day, you're not actually leading, you're just reacting. Think about the example of a gym boss whose personal problems would just rain hell on his team. Nobody could trust him because his behavior was totally erratic. Emotional regulation under stress, that's one of the rarest and most respected leadership traits out there.
So, the crucial point now is, how do we turn all of these don'ts into a practical, actionable playbook of do's?
And here it is, your cheat sheet for transformation. On the left, you've got the behaviors that signal weakness. And on the right, they're powerful replacements. This right here, this is the path from being seen as uncertain to being seen as a truly trusted leader.
And let's just bring it all home with this one big idea. This was never about becoming some slick, charismatic speaker. It's about earning trust through clarity, through calmness, and through conviction. Ultimately, building your executive presence is so much more about what you stop doing than what you start doing.
So as we close this out, I'll leave you with this question. Look at that list again. You don't have to fix everything at once. Just pick one. What is the one behavior you are going to focus on eliminating starting today? Because by removing just one of these weak signals, you can immediately start to build the kind of executive presence that commands trust, respect, and real influence.